Welcome to the Upshur County Commission meeting for May 17, 2018. I'm going to open with a moment of silent meditation and prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And then we'll do the approval of the minutes for May 3rd, 2018, May 10th, 2018, and the 2018 primary election canvassing minutes.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everyone have a chance to look over the minutes?
I have.
Yes, sir. And I think I may have a correction on the canvas minutes. It says precinct 33 was hand counted, and 2 lines down it says precinct 39 balanced.
You're right, that should be 33.
Okay, sir.
And with that correction, I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 9:05, we have a meeting with Chief James J.B. Kimball to discuss heart safe program and request for AEDs to be placed outside for public use when an emergency arises. Jim's not here yet. 9:15, we have an appointment with Mr. Donnie Tenney, request to plant wildflowers on county-owned FEMA properties. 9:30, we have an appointment with Jeff W. Harvey, owner of Preparedness Division Manager of J&H Consulting LLC, discuss proposal for professional services for the core security plan project. At 9:45, we have an appointment with Mike Kozak, community liaison, update regarding the Atlantic Coast pipeline timeline and project expectations. 10 o'clock, we will go over to the 2018 primary election certifications for county and municipality. JB's not here yet. Just keep moving on. Items for discussion, action, and/or approval. 1, approval of order to appoint the Sheriff of Upshur County as the administrator of the estate of Gary D. Adams, deceased. Entertained a motion.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 2, approval and signature of the DEP voluntary remediation program application for the Upshur County Youth Camp Archery Range project.
I move to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Just note, this is a draft that will be submitted, and then the DEP will sign off on it, and then you'll sign a final version. So this will appear on your agenda again within the next 4 to 6 weeks, probably.
3, review and signature of West Virginia County's Risk Pool 2018-19 acceptance to renew coverage of proposal dated May 3rd, 2018. Upon approval, the total annual contribution will be $181,309.
Our increase this year is just a little over $1,000. However, that's because we increased the coverage for voting machines and CAD system, as well as the duress alarms, and we added the wheelchair lift under the property. The wheelchair lift that was newly installed in the circuit clerk's office. And you will be getting the $6,000 credit on your invoice that was discussed with us before.
Okay, so it's probably just like a $7,000 increase if we didn't have that credit on there.
No, it was just a $1,000 increase.
Okay, well that's good.
It went from 180 to 181, and then you'll get a $6,000 credit on the bill that they send you for the 181.
Nice.
Now, while reviewing your insurance renewal, we did note that West Virginia Corp offers insurance coverage on your bridges. So this does not include the bridge located in Selbyville. If you'd like to include that, that would cost $800 annually. And the only time that the insurance would kick in is in case of flood or an earthquake. However, if something would happen to the bridge, Chad Borum with the Division of Highways estimates that the design and construction of a complete replacement would probably cost around $570,000.
Does it, when it floods there, does it interfere with the bridge?
So that's something for you to think about.
The one question I have is if a derecho would be covered. I mean, hurricane obviously is different than derecho, but derecho is something that we've experienced in this area that would have the potential to possibly take out a bridge.
Well, what if somebody drove across with a big truck and their insurance they didn't have insurance? Would our insurance take care of them?
No, they're saying the only coverage would be during a hurricane or flood.
Well, I think that's kind of a worthless policy. That's my personal opinion, that's a worthless policy.
So I just wanted to make you aware that coverage is available if you want it.
I agree with Commissioner Pepper.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the renewal.
Second.
He's the first, he's the second.
Let me just go, I'll make that motion. Go ahead, then you'll be in line.
Well, I thought you was making the motion, see?
I said I'll entertain it.
Oh. I'll second.
Now, for the motion in a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 4, approval and signature of correspondence to Captain Benson of the West Virginia DNR requesting for his office to visit the properties owned by Thomas Moats and Todd Spencer Walter Gould. I read that letter, so that, is he just gonna go out and inspect to see if they're in violation of any of their regulations?
They're pretty much just gonna go out and check and see if there's any household garbage or anything that they could be cited for on there. Which I believe they may have done a few years ago when this originated with the State Seismic Structures in Portland Port.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 5, correspondence from Chris Cook requesting appointment to the Upshur County State Structures and Sites Enforcement Board to fill the unexpired community member general public vacancy. This term is set to expire on June 30th, 2018. Upon approval, Mr. Cook's appointment will be effective immediately and will expire on June 30th, 2020. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 6, correspondence from Craig V. Creaser, West Virginia Extension Agent requesting the use of the large pavilion during the week of June 25th to June 29th, free of charge. The Upshur County Extension Service, with the assistance from the Upshur County 4-H Foundation, plans to host a 4-H Clover Bud Day camp and anticipate that 25 area youth will be in attendance. In addition to the aforementioned request, Mr. Creaser is also requesting for the full entry fees for camp participants and registered staff to be waived.
I move we waive these fees.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 7, approval of the Memorial Day bash at the pool advertisement. The Upshur County Recreational Park pool will be open on Memorial Day from 1 to 5, free of charge. I think this is a good idea. Tabitha, you came up with this, didn't you, to kind of kick off the summer?
I move we approve.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 9, memorandum from Tabitha R. Perry, Assistant Administrator, announcing the resignation of Taylor Powell, Buchanan Upshur Recreational Facilities Lifeguard, effective immediately, and further requesting the seasonal employment of Kate Garrett as lifeguard approval, Mr. Garrett will begin work effective May 20th, 2018 at the paid wage rate of $9.35 an hour after completing all required documentation and submitting his certifications.
I have a question. Last meeting, I think we approved for a lady to be hired, a young lady to be hired at $8.75.
She was a new employee, so if your new employees start at $8.75 an hour,
Pays
Mr.
a
Garrett
return?
is a returning.
Okay, all right.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 10, correspondence from Craig D. Breeser, West Virginia Extension Agent, County Program Coordinator, and Tasha Harris, West Virginia Extension Agent, requesting for the job title of Stacy Wentz to be changed from 4-H Assistant to Extension Program Assistant due to the increase in job responsibilities. They are also asking for Ms. Wentz's salary to be increased by 50 cents an hour, effective immediately. Item may lead to executive session for West Virginia Code 6-9A-4. Would someone like to go into executive session? I'll make a motion we go into executive session.
I'll second.
You're really thinking too hard. Right.
We probably do.
I'll entertain a motion to exit executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, we were talking about Craig Breeser's request for a 50-cent pay increase due to a promotion in job title and responsibilities for Stacy Wentz.
I move to approve.
And I'll second that, after looking back on budget hearings.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, Mr. Kimball?
Want me to the podium?
Yes, sir.
How are y'all this morning?
Good, how are you?
To get through this week, it'll be good. I guess you've been informed while I'm here. The McCann Fire Department, along with other agencies, we're looking at a Park Safe Community Initiative, which is a community-oriented way to improve our sudden cardiac arrest response and in big public event areas, stuff like that. So the big thing is data-driven. How many cardiac arrests we have, how many people do CPR on people immediately, how many people can recognize cardiac arrest, and then we train people in hands-only CPR and how to use an AED. So the next big thing is to find out how many AEDs are in our community, public, non-public, how many can we make public? Because to be considered a public access AED, it has to have 24-hour availability, okay? So like the Stockard Youth has one. They've decided to put it on the exterior of the building as you enter the front of the building. We haven't done it yet, but it'll be in a locked box that has a code. And so somebody, either inside the building or outside the building, there's a cardiac arrest, they can run up, and when they call 911, we'll just call it box 1, okay? They call 911, I'm a box 1 AED, what's the code? And the comm center will have those codes. They punch it, box opens up, you pull the AED out. Okay, those are secure boxes, not to say that somebody couldn't take a howitzer, blow one off the wall and steal your AED, but they're pretty secure boxes. That way, they're public access. And once you make them public access, we register them with the state and the state Office of Emergency Services. And what that does, or EMS, Emergency Medical Services, what that does is there's apps for like first responders, and they can hit that app and it locates public access AEDs. So people coming from other states or counties coming here for the Strawberry Festival, if they're a first responder, they can hit that app and say, oh, there's one at the courthouse. So if I'm standing out here and then I see somebody go down, they know there's an AED that's available to grab if somebody goes down before the rest of the first responders get there. So what we've done, like with the Stalker, Chapel Hill Church has 2 AEDs, so they're going to put one on the exterior of their church. You know, we're just trying to find out where they're at so we can make it public access. And once they're made public access, the fire department monthly will go around and inspect them for batteries and for the pad expirations. So that way, not only do we check them, but we get to a building that, you know, if this building ever caught on fire, what would we do? You know, so it gains us access to walking around the building, stuff like that, information that we typically like to do. And I know the courthouse has, or the annex, everything has 2 AEDs, and I've asked if we could possibly make one of those public access. The boxes are about $300, you know, $300 to $350, and through initiatives like Great Buchanan, my father's, when he passed away, it was instead of the little flyers to donate to that program, we have about $4,200 right now. So that'll buy roughly about 3 AEDs in boxes that we can place in places. So instead of having to buy one here, I'd like for you all to make one of your all's AEDs public access. That's what I'm asking for, which would be on the exterior, the annex, or the courthouse, or whichever one you want to choose. But that way we can make it available to first responders or people that know how to use them. If somebody's not trained, don't worry about the liability. There is a lay rescuer law that if somebody takes that AED that's not trained, there's no way you can really use it wrongly. AEDs are, we call it kind of stupid proof. I mean, you hit the button, it turns on, it tells you whether to shock or not. And all you do, if it says shock, you hit the button and it shocks. If it's not a shockable rhythm, they won't shock. So that's the way they're set up. But the big initiative will be to train people CPR, recognition, sudden cardiac arrest, and then how to use an AED. And if you all are willing to do that, we will come down, the fire department will eventually, right now we have 10 instructors, we're going to have 18 CPR instructors. We can come down as a group and teach hands-only CPR to every county employee if you'd like, free of charge. So,
Did have a question, but you answered it in that.
okay.
With what the liability, and if somebody used it that didn't know how to use it.
I mean, they're in airports all over. And to give you an idea, the survival rate in an airport because of availability of AEDs is about 62%. So to give you an example, of Upshur County, there was 19 cardiac arrests in our fire district last year, okay? 16 of those were initiated CPR by a family member or a bystander, okay? 3 times it wasn't. You know how many times an AED was used by a bystander? 0. Because they're not available. Nobody knows where they're at. Or they're afraid to use them. They don't know what they are. So the big initiative is to train people, first of all, like I said, to recognize somebody falls down and they're laying there on the floor, they're in cardiac arrest. Okay? Call 911, start the chain of survival. Okay? Start the CPR, which now the big thing is hands-on. Hands-only CPR, people are more, they want to do it because they don't have to go mouth to mouth. That's the big thing. People are afraid that contact, unless it's a family member, you know. But the big thing is to recognize, initiate CPR because that prolongs the body dying. And then first responders get in there and quickly.
How much do those cost?
The box,
No, the machine.
the AEDs are a little over $1,000 a piece. And from what I understand, you have 2 up here.
Where are ours located at in the courthouse?
The second floor of the annex and the first floor of the courthouse.
I hate to move of the old courthouse.
It's in the hall.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd want to move one of those out. I'd like to make a motion that we buy a new one and a box to put on the outside.
And I will second that because, you know what I mean, with that being said, I think it's a good idea.
Appreciate it.
Not that it will ever happen here, and I hope it never happens, but if it ever did, and we could save one life, for no more than it costs $300 and $1,000, we throw more money that away on several things that we shouldn't be doing, so you got a second.
And if, not to interrupt you, but if you want to, as we go, we're going to buy a group amount. And if you want to wait when we do that, then we can figure out the payment.
Yeah.
It might save us some money now, so.
Yeah.
Good work, JP.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thanks for coming in. Yes.
How's that fire truck running?
Good.
Yeah.
Can I weigh in on this? I want to just tell a quick story. It's a very serious story. You know me for joking, it's not a joke. I watch hockey. In fact, I played college hockey. I was watching a Red Wing game one night, 7 or 8 years ago. And a Red Wing player skated off the ice to the bench. It was his shift was over. He sat down on the end of the bench and dropped over, seemingly dead. The ref was trained in these AEDs. There was one sitting right next to him at the end of the bench. The ref stopped the game and he worked on him for 20 minutes before he brought him back. The player never played hockey again, but he did survive. So there's your point. They're valuable, even if you don't use them for 10 years, they're valuable.
Yes. Great.
Thank you.
Dennis.
You know, no more money than that is. You know what I mean? It is well worth it and something we should do. I hope we never have to use it, but if we do, I'm sure all three of us would be glad that we have one outside.
I would love to be trained in that.
We're going to have free, we'll be initiating, after Strawberry Festival, initiating free hands-only training at the fire department, or we can come here as a group, and we've even talked about the guy from Heart Safe. He's the organizer of it. They have like those flash mob like type deals where he gets a group of CPR instructors and they'll go in, let's say Walmart. Anybody wants to learn CPR? Let's go. And they ball out the dummies there and they start showing people how to teach CPR. So, you know, it's a community awareness thing, and you know, like you said, if we save one life, you know, we have the data. How many people, the only thing we don't have is the end result out of those 19 cardiac arrests, how many survive. So once we get this and we start providing the service, we can look at the end result and say, you know, out of those 19, we saved 4, you know, and then we have a percentage that we can improve upon. So,
Thank you.
yep, thank you all.
We have an appointment at 9:15 with Mr. Denny.
There's some information there, just settle it. Morning, everyone. Nice rainy morning. As they say, into each life a little rain must fall, especially during the Strawberry Festival. So I am here today representing the Tigers Valley Conservation District. Rex Reeder served on that for probably 20 years. And previous to that, I served for 10 years when it was by petition. You went to Southern States and signed a petition. That's how you were appointed to that board. So I served 10 years when I was elected to the commission. I talked Rex into going on to that board. He served for over 20 years. And then when he passed away, then I was appointed to, I've been in the appointed position for about a year. And then John Sensendiver, who's the other district supervisor, has decided not to run again. So that's why there were 2 empty seats, Mr. Bush and myself. And it's always good to run unopposed. So anyway, I want to just give a little bit of information on what conservation districts do, because if you would ask 100 people, maybe one of them might be able to tell you. And I think it's a very important part of the government function. And actually, the conservation districts came about as a result of the Dust Bowl. I don't know if any of y'all are old enough to remember that. But anyway, basically what happened during the Dust Bowl, because of the bad conservation practices, they just kept plowing the ground and plowing, and they planted no cover crops. Then when the drought came and the dust storms, they lost millions and millions of acres and tons of topsoil. It was so bad that it actually came from out west clear to Washington, D.C. That's how it was, just tremendous dust storms that came. And the congressman that was responsible for starting the conservation districts knew when that dust storm was going to be visible to the senators and congressmen in Washington, D.C. He planned a hearing that day, And when he made his proposal, and they looked out the window, and here comes this dust storm, it was like a tornado or a hurricane coming. And so it passed unanimously. And as a result of that, there are 3,000 conservation districts in the United States. In West Virginia, there are 14 conservation districts. And Taggart's Valley is one of them, which consists of Upshur County, Barber County, Randolph, Tucker, and Taylor. And each county except Kanawha has 2 conservation district supervisors. And sometime back a few years ago, it was actually changed to where it's a ballot position now. It's nonpartisan like Board of Education, so it's decided in May, and then you take office the 1st of July. So that gives you a little bit about the makeup and the purpose of the conservation districts and the district supervisors. Our job function is to educate and to help folks implement conservation practices through education and through different methods of demonstrations, and also technical advice to the government agencies that we partner with, and then also through cost share programs. And your conventional cost share programs that are lime and fertilizer and division fences, watering troughs and things like that. There's a growing interest in what's called urban agriculture. Because you know the way it used to be when at least these 2 old guys here and I grew up, everybody on the farm had a garden. They had a pig, they had some chickens, they had a cow, they milked the cow, they butchered the pig in the fall, they had eggs, and that doesn't happen anymore. And so most people are so removed from the source of their agriculture that it's kind of scary when you stop and think about it. Because if something happens, a trucker strike or anything that stops the transportation of food, within a couple of days your grocery stores are empty. And most people don't can anymore. So, when you look at the potential of where we are today in society, it's kind of scary when you think about it. So through the Urban Agriculture Program, we're trying to encourage people to plant a little garden, whether it's a little raised bed behind your house that you grow some lettuce and spinach and things like that, or a tomato plant. There's a lot of things that you can grow just in a container. So it doesn't require, a tractor and a tiller and all that stuff in order to grow a little bit. There's a lot of programs that have been initiated, farm to school programs and buy locally. We see a lot of that. Know the source of your food from the farm to the table. So there's a lot of efforts to get people to understand, the importance of buying local produce, growing some of your own, and especially when you see this scare with romaine lettuce and some of the contamination of those problems because of the type of growing conditions. If you buy locally, you know exactly where your source is. So that's, and along those lines, I want to make this announcement. Next Friday, the 25th, is the deadline. If anybody, and you can put this in your article, anybody that's interested in doing a little project as far as urban agriculture, there's some cost share money that's available to put a rain barrel, a low tunnel, a raised bed, a low tunnel just merely covering over your little raised bed. There's an opportunity for 10 people to get, it's a 50-50 match. So you pay $100, they'll pay $100 to put that whole system together. And it's a really good program to help people be able to catch the water off of your house or building, and you save that, and then you distribute that into your little raised bed. And it's interesting, you can take a little raised bed and put plastic over it, and you can have spinach all winter long. There's some plants that are so winter hardy that you can go out in December and January and catch off some fresh spinach and put in your. So there's a lot of garden products like that you can grow with just a little protection and no heat whatsoever. So I would encourage anyone that's interested in something like that to contact the district office. I gave Terry some cards. It's just Taggart Valley Conservation District, and that's one area that I'm really trying to educate people about, is the urban agriculture aspect, so that everybody can become a little bit more involved on a personal level and on a knowledge level of farm fresh produce and what's available in that area. What I'm here today about is one of my pet projects that I feel pretty strongly about, and anyone that raises bees or knows people that raise honeybees know that this past winter it was devastating on the beach. There were hundreds of bee hives lost in West Virginia, maybe thousands, I don't know. There's some people that lost every bee hive, and some of it's weather related, some of it's disease related. There's a lot of insects. There are bees that yellow jackets will kill honeybees. So there's just a lot of problems, and there are millions of dollars of products that we consume every day that are as a result of honeybees pollinating them, and then also there's the health aspect of the honey itself. But apart from that, and that kind of highlights the need for pollinator gardens, because there are over 3,500 natural pollinators that exist, from butterflies to birds to bumblebees to ants. There's just a lot of things that help through that pollination process. And when we consider the fact that a third of what we eat we wouldn't have if it wasn't for pollinators. Pollination is required for a third of what we eat. Not only what we eat, but for timber production, and there's all aspects of agriculture that require pollination. So the question is, what can we do to help? Well, what we can do is we can plant pollinator gardens, and all they are areas that you sow wildflowers, and that attracts the different pollinators, and when they come in, then they also pollinate your garden. I'll give you an example, which was amazing to me. I planted a half an acre of sweet corn last year, and sorry about it, but maybe I'll get you some this year. But anyway, and I think the average production for sweet corn is 100 bushel an acre. And up in the corner, about 1/8 of an acre, I planted a pollinator garden. It was beautiful all summer long, and they're designed to where they bloom continuously through the summer. And every time I walked in there were all kind of little bees and butterflies and stuff floating around. So, it was very attractive for everyone to enjoy. On that half an acre, I picked 100 bushel of sweet corn. So, and I attributed to that $150 I spent on the pollinator garden. So I got my money back many times over. So basically, I know last year you were approached by a young lady concerned about the pollinators and the use on FEMA property. So I talked to Greg Harris, and he and I went out and looked at the FEMA property just across the Tarrant Bridge on the right, and then it goes out to Norwell Drive. And I talked to him about your all's concerns and his concerns about, the possibility of bees and dangers to the neighboring houses, and is it going to look ugly, all those aspects of it. Well, what we looked at was a couple areas, one very high visibility, as you're coming into Buckhannon, Townsville Road on the left, right before you get to the Tarrant Bridge. Right up next to your bamboo garden farm you got there on the riverbank. Would be a wonderful place, very showy place. And then as you go out Norwell Drive, there's an area right along the little stream that goes down the Buckhannon River. It's right next to Holly Gooden's house. Just a little rough area there, and then there's the lawn area. And we looked at those two areas, which would be out of the way. They're up against, a backdrop of either a bank or the riverbank. And there would be two really good areas. They're far enough away from houses, there wouldn't be any problem with bees or anything like that. And so my proposal is this, is that if you guys will agree to spend $150 for the seed, I will donate my tractor, my tiller, my time, and till in those areas and sow in the seeds. And, you know, my proposal is, I think we try it this year, and I think you'll be very pleased at how nice it holds up and the fact that you're making a contribution to the pollination of food for you and all your neighbors here in Upshur County.
My concern, Donnie, is if you decide that you're not gonna plant next year,
Then I'll come in the fall and I'll till it up again and we'll sow it down in grass. How's that?
that's my concern.
And I think the fall, by going through one whole season, you're gonna know if you like it, if it's a good idea, if it's attractive. I think that's gonna be important. That's why you pick areas that, you know, that are showy, like especially that one on Toneville Road. I think that'll just be and you know, when you guys get all the compliments on it, you don't have to get anything to it. Just take it all, you can take it all and
We don't do that now.
but anyway, that's my request, about $150, and the seed, the mix that I use is called the Northeast Wildflower Seed Mix. There's like 26 different varieties. There's Black-Eyed Susan, there's Coreopsis, there's just a number of things, different color that bloom different times of the year.
Does Greg have any concerns?
No. Once I met with him, explained to him, you know, all the aspects that I basically explained to you, he's on board with it.
Well, I think too, you're going to be the one that's telling them and taking care of it.
Right.
I think that was our problem last year was we have 3 full-time maintenance people and 1 part-time. We just don't have the manpower to do it on our own. Just
Well, I
it's a terrific
understand.
idea.
And if it's a success and everybody's on board, then next year maybe we can get some other groups involved and kind of broaden the involvement from other groups. But this is a good little area, a couple little areas there to do a test run on it. And you know, your commitment's pretty minimal and
It's true about the bees. I know a couple people that lost all their bees this year.
right.
They do that a lot in Virginia. You see them.
Pollinator garden.
And you see that as you're driving down the interstate, you know what I mean? They got,
Right, and you know what's sad about that? Those are supposed to be West Virginia wildflowers and they plant California poppies. I mean, that's the state government for you, but, you know, and I've tried through the connections I have to get them to plant some plants that are native to this area, but for some reason they want to plant California poppies. I don't know why, but it is pretty, it adds to it. And along those lines, there's a national effort to plant 1 million acres of pollinator gardens across the United States. And there's a lot of counties, Harrison, Marion, you know, they've got areas that they're planting pollinator gardens because they understand the importance of it and how critical it is for our food production to have pollinators.
Now, after the summer's over, we've got.
Just mow it down. Just mow it down. That's what I did on mine. I just mowed it down. And I think 40% of that is perennials. And what I did this spring, and we could do that, is I just, if you seed in February, March, when it's still freezing and thawing, it's called frost seeding. And I just went over mine with some more seed. And as that ground freezes and hooves up, it just sucks that seed right down in the ground and covers it up. And I've got flowers blooming. I've had flowers blooming in mine because of the fact that almost half of them are perennials. It's going to come up every year. That I've had flowers blooming in mine for the last couple of weeks as I'm planting my new corn in that area. There's little flowers popping up here and there from last year. So part of them will seed themselves. The annuals, some of them will seed themselves if the birds don't get them. And then you've got all these perennials that are going to come back from the root. And so, you know, that gives you a nice pollinator garden for next year. And that's the purpose of that. Part of it's annual, so you've got a really good showing this year. Gives the perennial time to get started and rooted in. And then next year, they will expand. And then you don't have to do anything. I mean, you might put a little bit more seed on the straw seed, but that would give
Yeah, those black-eyed Susans, they multiply
Oh, yeah.
and hang on for a long time.
Yeah. So there's black-eyed Susans, and then there's the white daisy, what was it we used to do? You love me not. But there's just a nice collar selection in that seed mix, and that's the one I use, so I'm very familiar with what's in it and how attractive it is. As a matter of fact, Amanda Hayes came out to my place last fall and took pictures of my pollinator garden. So you know, that says something right there when you have to look the press out, take a picture of your pollinator garden. But anyway, that's my request, and I hope you look at it favorably.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right, gentlemen. Heard on this request. Motion to approve.
I'm gonna make that motion to approve. I think something needs to be done, and for $150, what we probably save on mowing up there will certainly pay for the seed.
I'll second.
All right, I have a
I just
motion.
know you're on a contract, so the price will stay the same for the mowing, but,
Well, I know, but in the future, you know what I mean?
okay.
They won't be mowing that.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Jeff Harvey? How you doing, Jeff?
I'm all right. How are you guys?
Good, Jeff.
I'm going to give you some brief information because I'm going to have to step out. The Port Security Advisory Board met last Thursday and unanimously voted to recommend JH Consulting's proposal to you this week for the creation of a port security plan. So Jeff with JH Consulting is here today just to give you some information about his background and experience working with port security in other areas and what he's planning to submit to you as far as the plan goes for this proposal.
Yeah, so we had, I know there's an effort here to try to take a look at increasing support security here at the courthouse. And I had talked with Ms. Wallace, it's been a month or so ago, about being involved with that committee. And my office, we've been involved in a number of just security efforts for a number of facilities, including courthouses, municipal courts, Job and Family Services Office, like kind of like a Human Services Office, schools and the like. And so we've been in an advisory role on a lot of those types of projects. And that's really what the basis of this proposal was. I understand we have a committee that's really comprised of a lot of local expertise that would be talking about some of the nuts and bolts of what we could do. But there'd be some value in having a role like mine on there where we can do a couple of different things. We can be one, a facilitator, and two, kind of a researcher, and three, sort of an external subject matter expert if it's necessary. And what I would see there and what the proposal included was just basically attendance at some of the committee, or at all the committee meetings that we have. Kind of run those to allow the actual committee members to participate in that, as opposed to having to be an administrator of that effort. Of course, we could serve as sort of the scribe and the documentarian there for that. But the other thing that we can do is I would imagine there will be some issues that come up in the course of those discussions that need a little bit of follow-up. And we've certainly got some expertise there and some contacts there that we could sort of run those flags up the pole for the committee and be able to brief back to the committee on some different options there. And the end goal of this would be to basically come up with a court security plan that would guide future actions as we go forward with that. And this would be not necessarily an operations plan. I don't mean something that would be the tick list for actually how we do it, but more of like a strategic action plan for getting from point A to point B. You know, when you talk about security, lots of people go to very high dollar items that are very visible type items and things that you can install or the like. And those are certainly viable options or certainly effective options. But there's a lot of things that can be done between now and then that has to do with increasing security. So by taking kind of a strategic approach to this, we can make better use of some of that as we, in the interim, as we work towards some of those larger ticket items that could be solutions. So that was the basis of the proposal that we put together. Like I said, we've got just some project experience doing that out of my office. We're local right here, office on Main Street, so attending committee meetings is not going to be a big deal. Not a lot of travel time and the like getting there. And then we've got the staff experience that has criminal justice type backgrounds, law enforcement type backgrounds that I can lean on as well.
And that, I was trying to find the document here that you had. that goes along, so that's basically, the contract would be for how long, what's the duration? Is there any time duration on that?
Yeah, I set it up basically for, and I was kind of looking at it at about a year's time. What I did is I based my estimate off of 8 committee meetings, basically 6 monthly sessions and then 2 follow-up quarterly sessions, so there's your year. And then it would be the full compilation of that initial security plan, and of course the research background, et cetera, that would go into that. The other thing about our proposal there is I kind of shot a little high on doing the estimate and set it up as a not to exceed. But of course, we would only bill you what we have in it, but went a little high, so you would, for budgetary purposes.
Okay, we appreciate that. Okay,
Thank you, Jeff.
thank you, Jeff.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
We'll consider this.
Sounds good? All right.
Mike,
Okay.
sorry to run over a little bit,
That's all right.
unless you guys.
I thank you for your time.
I'll give you an option here.
What's that?
I can take a little recess and go down and watch the diaper derby. That'll take about 10 minutes or,
Let's do it.
all right, let's show recess.
What's that?
We're back in session now. So, Mike, you want to start the interruption?
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you,
That's
Mike.
my first diaper derby, so, you know, it's another check mark on Mike's box. Real quick, I just wanted to come and give you an update. I like to come to you every couple of months or so, maybe more frequently as time progresses, but wanted to give you an update on what's going on. We had an important event last Friday. We got our notice to proceed from FERC to build the pipeline in West Virginia. So we've got full-blown authority to go ahead and start full construction in West Virginia on those areas where we've dropped trees and we have clearings to work with and stuff with that. So in the next few weeks, you should see a huge influx of folks here to start getting that work underway. So the hotels will be filled, the restaurants will be filled, and all the things that go with that. And they'll all be staged and working out of the Brushy Fork yard that you're seeing constructed out there.
They're moving fast on that.
They need to, so they should be done quick. So that should be done very shortly. All the trailers should be out there and it should be fully functional probably by Memorial Day. So
When do you expect the actual, like, start of digging and?
well, the step one will be in a couple of weeks. We'll start clearing and getting the access roads upgraded to where we can get into the right of way to do the clearing. And then it'll be a while before we actually get graders out there, dozers out there to start grading the actual right of way and being ready to trench it and stuff like that. So optimistically 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks. So we can, I know you guys maybe want to go out there and see all that at some point. So we'll work with you guys to make that happen. I think some of the reporters may want to join us on that. So we'll make sure that happens.
Okay.
But yeah, you're probably looking at a July time frame for that.
Okay.
Just so you can see everything that's really going on out there. There were a couple of questions that were brought up at the last time I was here a couple months ago. I want to answer those for you so you think I haven't forgot them. The one gentleman, actually he raised 2 questions. One was with respect to the welders. The welding is not done in any kind of confined area. It's just a covering that goes over the welding area to keep it secure from the elements. Okay, it's not anything that's at all detrimental to the welders or anything like that. And then secondly, he asked an environmental question related to bringing in invasive species. When a piece of equipment is brought into the area, it's thoroughly cleaned before it's allowed to go out on the right of way and actually do anything. So that is taken into account, and we do make provisions to eliminate that or minimize that risk. So just wanted to give you answers to those 2 things. And other than that, if you've got any questions, I will tell you that we're fully aware of the degradation that's taken place on Brushy Fork Road. We're working with the DOH to get a permit to repair and patch a lot of that area that's been degraded, and we'll keep on top of it. There's contracts out to local paving companies to keep that up, so we're well aware of
the impact we're having on our road, and we're going to take necessary steps to keep it up. Okay?
That's probably the only question that,
Yeah, I know, it's totally valid, we understand that, and that's just the nature of the beast, unfortunately, bringing in a lot of heavy equipment on a road that's maybe not constructed as well as it might be to handle the kind of traffic that we unfortunately need to run back and forth.
another question, I believe, after they finish the McDonald's third lane, I think that
Correct.
are they moving out there to start the third lane down Brushy Fork? Have they been in contact with you all about that?
My understanding is the first step right now is to move a lot of the utilities in preparation for that. I understand there's water lines that need to be moved, there's power poles that need to be moved. My understanding is a lot of that's going to take place this summer. I don't know if it's going to be completed this summer, but if you like, I'll get a better explanation. But yeah, it's a bad timing. It's a bad timing to have both of them happen. I hate to see it get redone, paved, and only to have us, continue to beat it up. It would be nice if we could kind of coordinate the efforts and the timing out there. Yeah. But they're talking constantly with the DOH to stay on top of it. Okay? Yes?
Could you address what we were asking you earlier about the permit being for the federal appeals court, ordering some work on the Atlantic Coast pipeline to be stopped?
Well, actually, there was no order to stop. She's referring to there's a federal judge in Virginia, I believe, that issued a decree, whatever it was. I'm not legal here, so bear with me. But anyway, he found fault with some of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife clearances that we got as part of the process of getting our FERC permit. He was apparently not satisfied with the extent of the specificity of what Fish and Wildlife had put into the system. So he basically declared that part of it invalidated, and it needs to be updated. And I'm sure U.S. Fish and Wildlife and Dominion are, working on that as we speak to get that updated and corrected to meet the judge's satisfaction. But there's no work stoppages at all associated with that. FERC issued a statement actually last night saying there will be no downtime as a result of that judge's decision. Okay.
Mike, I'd like to thank you for coming in here and keeping us updated on what's going on. I really appreciate that.
Well, it's a two-way street. I'd like to get feedback from you guys too as to what you're hearing that I may not be aware of that I need to address too. So, it's a collaborative effort between us, and I hope that continues. And, we want to see this thing be beneficial for all concerned here.
The only concern I've heard was Brushy Fork Road, and I believe you addressed it here earlier.
We're going to stay on top of that. Yes, sir.
And really, that's the only thing I've heard. Pretty bad shape from just the winter. Where
Yeah,
clouds.
it wasn't in the best shape, and we certainly haven't made it any better. So, yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Appreciate it. It's going to take care of our 10 o'clock for the 2018 primary election certification for county and municipality.
Yep, there we go. And we will have to certify the national and state tickets at a later date. It's my understanding from the Secretary of State's office that one county could not get a quorum until today to do their canvassing, which puts all of those offices on hold because we can't certify until the last precinct has been declared. So,
Okay, so we just signed, we're...
yeah, those are just our local, just our local county races and the municipal race, or races. And then we will have to determine at such time when we get notice from the Secretary of State's office that we can certify the other.
We need a motion.
Yep, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second, all those in favor? Opposed, motion carries.
So the question I would have for you guys, would you rather just wait to certify the other races next week? That way we don't have to hold a special meeting to do that?
That would be fine with me.
Okay, because I'll let the Secretary of State's office know that we will not certify till next Thursday then, provided we can do
And
it
if
then.
they have a major problem with it, and that's something we need to do, just contact us, because we're going to be political and everything here.
Okay.
Was there a decision on the JH Consulting proposal?
No, we did not make a
We
decision.
didn't
on
make a
that.
motion on
We
that.
do need to vote on that today. Okay.
That's it.
Unless you want to wait for some reason, but.
J&H Consulting.
And that came as a recommendation from the board and so on, so
Yes.
I'll make that motion to go ahead and approve that.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed?
Also, item number 8 did not have.
I think I skipped that. Okay. Number 8, approval of full opening advertisement. The Upshur County Pool opens to the public for the season on June 1st, 2018.
I move we approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
This 11.
Yeah, I'm not. I'll get one of those.
Yeah, Sarah, you can vote, sorry. If anybody wanted information on pollinator gardens, there is some information here in packets of wildlife flower seeds.
You need one in, Brian?
Yes.
You passed one down, you've already signed.
Okay, I thought I was passing much of it down here.
Mr. President, is there any more business?
We just have a little bit,
But
a couple items here, like 3 items.
Okay.
As soon as I get that signed. All right, gentlemen, I'm gonna go ahead and move on while you guys are signing. 11, correspondence from James Love, case aide for the Community Corrections and Day Report Center, announcing his resignation effective May 23rd, 2018. Item may lead to executive session for West Virginia Code 6-9A-4. Entertain a motion to accept.
So moved.
second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. For your information, certain items may require discussion, action, and/or approval by the commission. 1, updated contract administration notes for mill site run south 16 TS Curry Library submitted by Nate Kennedy Forester, which has an update on the timbering that is going on with the Curry project. 2, letters from Maureen Lewis, Administrative Law, with the Secretary of State of West Virginia, requesting the filing of a list of all public service districts, PSDs, and their current board members, along with board members' terms of office by July 1, 2018. That's just standard for every year. We have to have that submitted. 3, newsletters and/or event notifications. 4, agendas and/or notice of meetings. 5, meeting minutes. 6, meetings. 7, appointments needed or upcoming. Still looking for a community member to serve on the Upshur County Safe Structures and Sites Enforcement Board, expired term June 30th, 2018.
That's just filled out.
What's that?
You just filled out. this
Oh,
one.
is that the one? Call Mr. Cook. Next regular meeting of the Upshur County Commission will be May 24th, 2018 at 9 a.m. The Upshur County Courthouse Annex. Commission meeting on May 31st, 2018